What's up, buddy? It's Water Jim, and you've read the title of this live stream. We're going to be reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy, but not just the movie, but also the soundtrack. And I'm joined by I'm Groot, Jacob Martin.
I am Groot. I am Groot.
I'm Groot.
I am Groot.
How
you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. But I can't believe this movie's 10 years old already.
That is hard to believe because that started to make me feel old because this came out 2014. This came out the year I graduated from high school.
So it was quite an important year for you then.
Pretty much. You had that. Of course, also Marvel also had Captain America, The Winter Soldier as well, which is another good movie around this time.
Was Thor: Dark World in 2014?
That was 2013.
So there was only two.
There was only two that year.
But is this your favorite of those two 2014 MCU films?
I've always favored The Winter Soldier personally, but Guardians of the Galaxy is still a really good movie.
I'm gonna have to go with Guardians of the Galaxy, but yeah, they're both really, really strong films in the MCU.
Yeah, I would say 2014 was one of their best years.
And it was also a great year for Chris Pratt as well.
Yeah, Chris Pratt was also in the Lego movie.
Yeah, and Jurassic World was around this time.
Yeah,
well.
I think that was in 15.
So yeah, he was doing a lot of these couple of years.
Yep. The golden years of Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Adam, for having me on. I'm excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah, I'm excited to do so. So we might as well talk about the movie itself first, and then we'll go ahead and quickly talk about the soundtrack. So, right. What were your initial thoughts going into the movie?
All right. So when I first heard that they announced this movie, I thought the people at Marvel were out of their minds because I didn't grow up reading the comics or anything, so a lot of these characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe I was introduced to for the movies, like Iron Man and Thor and Captain America. So then when Guardians of the Galaxy was announced, I remember seeing the concept art. I'm like, a movie involving a talking raccoon with a machine gun and a tree? Are you out of your mind? This sounds stupid. And then I saw the teaser trailer, and to be honest, none of the trailers really won me over. And then people are saying, "Oh, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's a good movie." I'm like, "Okay, I'll check the movie out. The buzz is pretty good." And I watched the film, and I'm like,
"It's a great movie.
It's a good movie." And then it's one of those where it's like I liked it, but I didn't love it when I first saw the film because it was kind of out there. And then the more I rewatched the movie, and I bought the soundtrack and I listened to it. I loved the soundtrack immediately on first viewing. The more it grew on me to where it's one of my favorite Marvel movies.
I think it's one of those sort of films that gets better with age.
I would say so. Because I think at first I'm like, okay, there's quite a few too many characters in this movie, and it's like there's some characters I liked more than other characters, but the more I rewatch this movie and the more I've seen, I think now that we have like the whole trilogy and there's like a whole franchise of these characters, and these characters have grown since the first movie, that helps make the first movie better as well.
Mm-hmm. Is this your favorite of the three Guardians movies?
I do have an unpopular opinion. My favorite of the Guardians movies is actually 2.
But funny you should say that. I do prefer the first Guardians movie, but when I first saw Guardians 2, I actually preferred that movie over this one.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
it's because I like the soundtrack. I think I like the soundtrack a bit more in
I,
Volume Two.
I do think two has the best soundtrack, but I like where two actually further explores all the characters where they they have to face their biggest fears while they're split apart, and that makes them become a stronger unit when they reunite at the end. I like
It almost reminds me of Toy Story 2 in that way.
that's a really cool comparison. I've never thought of it that way before, but
I just thought of it then, like
that's
that.
really I like that. But yeah,
It's Toy Story 2 of the MCU.
the Toy Story 2. I never thought of it that way.
I guess it means that Guardians is Toy Story then, the first one. But
Okay, who's Woody and who's
there's
Buzz? It's
that's a hard one actually.
Star Lord is Star Wars Buzz. Woody is
Woody is Groot.
Woody is Groot. That's funny.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
all the characters in this movie are absolutely amazing. Pretty much 2014, that was the year Chris Pratt blew up. And once I saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, oh, Chris Pratt is the next big movie star. He is really
yeah.
good in this movie. Uh, very, very good. Great energy on screen. Uh, Such great charisma as this character. He was such a blast to watch in this movie. I will say, the more I've watched these movies, the more Rocket Raccoon has shot up into becoming one of my favorite characters. And it all started in this movie. Uh, he has that temper and hot streak, but there's also a pain in him because he's a character that's never been loved, which they dive more into that when you get to the Guardians 3, where you get the backstory. But there was already hints of where they were going with him as early as this first movie, and it's kind of a mix between tragic and darkly comedic at the same time.
I think in this movie I like Star Lord a bit more, but I think overall I think I like Rocket as a character more.
Yeah, I think if you go for the whole, if you look at it as the whole trilogy, I think Rocket's probably the best character. But I think when I first watched the movie, I think just looking on the first movie, my favorite was probably Star Lord. Of course, you gotta love Groot.
Yeah,
Uh, Probably Vin Diesel's easiest paycheck because he's in a voice box saying "I am Groot" repeatedly.
I think I like the adult version of Groot the most.
Oh, which one?
I like the adult version of him the most.
Oh, in this movie?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because um, the Groot in this movie, he sacrifices himself. The Groot that you see in the other movies is technically his offspring.
yeah.
So
They're technically different characters.
yeah, yeah, the Groot you see in the other two movies. But I love the joke at the end of the movie where the newly growing baby Groot at the end is dancing to the Jackson Five, and he's trying to hide from Drax.
Yeah,
That always got a big laugh out of me.
yeah. I think Drax is also very funny in this movie.
Yeah, Drax is a hilarious character. Just the whole shtick he has of like not understanding a joke and a metaphor. Like
I think he gets funnier with every movie.
I agree, but it started in this movie. Like he takes everything literally. It's like, why do I put my finger around his throat?
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Gamora?
She's my least favorite Guardian, but I still quite like her.
Yeah, and I think it helps that you got Zoe Saldana, who does a good job with what she's given.
Yeah. So I like Nebula a bit more probably.
Yeah, Nebula's kind of a throwaway character to me in the first movie, but to me, she got better with each movie. Like,
I,
where
lo-
she's
I
more
love I
fleshed
love her
out.
in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, I don't think I've really. Actually, I think I became more of a fan of her actually in Guardians 2.
Of
Where
course, we've got to mention Yondu as well.
Oh man, I was a fan of Yondu from the first time I saw the movie. I'm
Yeah,
like, man, I don't know who I didn't know who Michael Rooker was at the time. And I'm like, man, this guy is such a memorable personality. Uh, I mean, I really enjoy that guy, and then I love what they did with him, especially in the second movie. I'm like, man, Yondu's probably my top three characters in the movie.
but I quite like it with the character Kraglin.
Oh yeah, yeah. That Kraglin's played by Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother.
You actually got a comment.
Oh,
I can't, it's not letting me go on it. There we
I
go.
would absolutely recommend Guardians of the Galaxy, Beth. That is a great movie.
Well, she's actually my sister.
Oh, oh,
So
hey, Adam Sis.
we need to watch it together at some point.
Oh, that is a great movie. And then the cool thing is with this movie, because it's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and a lot of these movies are interconnected. Yeah, there's ties and references to other movies, like there's like Thanos is in the background in this movie, and there's a reference to one of the Infinity Stones that's kind of the MacGuffin of the story. But you don't have to watch the other movies in order to understand the full plot of this movie, because you get a good introduction to the characters, and for the most part, it kind of works on its own merits without having to rely on having to see like the Avengers or any of the other movies.
So, what do you think of the character Ronan the Accuser?
To be honest, he's the weakest part of the movie. I
Yeah,
never really cared for him from when I first saw the movie, and now that I'm a big fan of the movie, like it's one of my favorite Marvel movies. I do think he's kind of a boring villain, if I'm gotta be honest. I think he just monologues too much about wanting more power, and I don't think he stands out to me compared to the other Marvel villains. He's kind of a one note character. I guess it's kind of interesting that he wants to try to outpower Thanos. I That's like the one part of his character I found interesting.
and he,
But
and he looks quite cool as well.
yeah, I just don't think he's that memorable of a character.
Yeah, but it was quite cool that he was in. Was it Captain Marvel?
Yeah, he showed up in Captain Marvel, and I thought they were gonna flesh him out more in that movie. He just kind of had a blink and you'll miss cameo. I was kind of let down by that.
But what do you think of the overall story of this
Oh, I
movie?
love the story.
Yeah, I think
How
the story is excellent.
how the movie introduced all these characters, juggled all these misfits together, where they couldn't get along at first, and some of them even wanted to kill each other, and then by the end they become a family. It was quite touching to see, and I think James Gunn has a great knack of taking these broken characters,
Mm.
making them very relatable, and that's something he's done even in the Suicide Squad over at DC. It was a kind of an edgier, darker version of what he did with Guardians, but that concept still worked in that story.
Yeah, it definitely is an emotional story, especially with Star Wars character.
I do have to share this story. Uh, the I think the reason why I didn't enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy as much the first time when I saw it in theater the theater showing of this movie was very rough. So the movie opens where you have Peter Quill at about, I don't know, 8 years old, and he's witnessing the death of his mother who's dying of leukemia. There were some very immature, very rude kids that was sitting about maybe 2 or 3 rows in front of me at the theater. And so we got to the part where the mom was dying. Either they were super ignorant of what leukemia was, or they were just being very rude and insincere. But we got to the dying mother, and they were like, "Oh, she's bald! Why is she bald?" I was like,
Is that really what he said?
"That
Oh,
I was in like dumbfounded shock. I'm like, why would you joke about an actual disease?"
they just they just ruined the moment as well.
Yeah. And then there were other parts throughout the movie where they were doing that, and I was like, "Oh no!" But then I watched it at home, and I'm like, "Yeah, this movie's awesome."
But it's got a very sad beginning to this movie.
Yeah, especially considering how like off-ball, quirky the movie gets with its characters. Like you have that dark of an opening where a kid's witnessing his mom die, and then he gets abducted. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, you've got me hooked onto the story.
Yeah, but I think the movie's paced really well too.
Yeah, I think it's actually one of the shorter Marvel movies, if I remember correctly. I think it's just shy of 2 hours. Some of the other ones can be 2.5
Yeah,
hours. I remember,
sometimes even 3 hours.
yeah, Endgame's 3 hours. I remember watching the Eternals in 2021, and it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. And
Yeah, I've
that,
not seen that movie
that
since.
movie, that movie felt like an eternity.
Well, it makes sense why it's called Eternals then.
Yeah, yeah. Endgame was paced a lot better, but
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, this one's paced pretty good.
Do you have a favorite overall moment in this movie?
Ooh, that's hard to decide. There's so many great ones. The prison escape is hilarious. I
That's
love
so
the
funny.
part.
Yeah,
I love the part especially where like Rocket says in the plan, uh,
the leg. Yeah,
I need that one guy's mechanical leg for parts." And so he had to, and so Star Lord actually did that, and he gave him the leg, and he's like, "Oh no, I was just kidding about that." He's like I just paid an arm and a leg to get this leg. And then
it
Gamora's
cost him
like,
loads of credits as well. It
"Yeah,
cost him like 20,000 credits or something.
something like that." And then Gamora's like, "I'm gonna die surrounded by the biggest idiots in the galaxy."
That's probably the funniest moment.
I love that.
I think my favorite is when Star Wars touching the orb. Like, is it the Power Stone, the Space Stone? One of the
I think it's the Power Stone. It's the purple. I always call it the Purple Stone.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
then
my favorite moment.
he's touching the orb, and then it's going, "Ah!" And then he gets that flashback of his mother, "Peter, take my hand," and then all the Guardians are like holding hands, and they defeat the villain. Oh, I also love the dance off.
Yeah,
Ooh,
literally moments before.
make it easier. I also Groot's sacrifice is
Yeah,
such a
that's
powerful
definitely
moment in that movie where he's protecting all of the Guardians from the ship crashing. And Rocket, like he's shedding a tear. It's like the one part of the movie where he cries, like, "Groot, you don't have to do this. Why are you doing this?" And then Groot goes, "We are Groot." And I'm like, "Oh, dang."
yeah. But before we give our overall thoughts on this movie, what do you think of the score? Not
Oh,
really the songs,
oh,
but
the score, just the
the
score of the movie.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good score. I think there's better scores.
I like the
Uh,
main theme for it.
the main theme is fine. I don't. It's not a score that I go back to, but it fits the tone of the movie. To me, the soundtrack is more memorable than the score.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that.
I think
Yeah,
I would argue the best score in a Marvel movie is Black Panther.
yeah, I could see that. But why does this film appear in your overall favorite MCU movies?
Um, I
Top
think
10?
I think the first one is just shy of the top 10. I think there's other movies that have knocked it out of the top 10. I think it's like number 11 or 12 in my
Well,
MCU ranking.
I think it's about I think I last checked it was my fifth favorite MCU movie.
Yeah,
Yep, he managed to get into a top five, which is cool.
yeah. I
But
think it's at least in my top 15.
other than Ronan, do you have any other negatives with the movie?
The only real big negative is Ronan. I can't think of anything else that I
Like I
don't
can't remember
care
anything
about in
else.
this movie, but that's the only real big one.
So I might as well give our overall score for the movie. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Mm, I'll go 9.5.
It's got to be somewhere around there anyway. 'Cause
Yeah,
it is an excellent movie.
great movie.
Yeah, but I think the soundtrack for the movie it's just as excellent.
Oh man,
I'll have to get the track
the,
list.
the soundtrack in itself is like a character of the movie because it was the last remnant of Peter's life on Earth before his mom died, and it was the big gift that she gave to him to remember her by. And those are the tunes that he keeps playing while he's on his awesome missions.
But I'm looking at Wikipedia page. It also is 12 songs in the movie.
All right.
So of course you can start. You've got hooked to the feeling, which is usually quite a funny part of the movie.
That's when they're in the prison.
But I never heard of that song before going
Oh,
into it.
well, I will say I was familiar with some of the songs in the soundtrack before watching the movie because at the time we had an oldie station in our local area that's now defunct, but that was a station that me and my sister used to listen to. And some of the songs were I had heard on that radio station, and one of the ones that they had on high rotation was "Hooked on a Feeling." That was a song I was so I didn't know what to make of it at first, especially where it had that ooga chaka
Yeah,
ooga ooga
he
ooga
plays through that
chaka. I'm like,
whole
what the
song.
heck is that?
Most of the song anyway.
Uh, the more I've listened to it, the more I'm like, yeah, this song's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
And then you got the song "Go All the Way," which is probably one of the more forgettable tracks in the soundtrack, but I still quite like it though.
I do like that one a lot. It's a I think it's a good rocking song. It's probably one of the weaker songs on the soundtrack. I agree, but it's got some good guitar parts in it.
Yeah. And then the next track is "Spirit in the Sky," which doesn't really appear that much that that long in the movie. I
Um,
think it's like a snippet of that song, really.
it was used more primarily in one of the trailers than in the actual movie,
Yeah.
but the song itself is great. I've always been a fan of that song,
Yeah.
especially that the groove of the song. Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
ding,
It's
ding.
great.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And then you got a David Bowie song with Moon Age Daydream. This
Um,
is a song that doesn't really appear that often. that long in the movie.
Yeah, I think it's using the scene where they explore the world of nowhere where the
Yeah,
collector's at.
I think that's where it appears.
Yeah. Uh, I like that one as well. That was a song that grew on me because when I first heard it, I'm like, the song is okay. But the more I've heard, I'm like, yeah, it's a really cool song. It's actually a pretty underrated Bowie song.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic song.
Yeah,
I wish it was in the film
yeah,
a bit more. But there you got the song "Fooled Around and Fell in Love," which I think is a really good ballad.
yeah. It's a great ballad. It works great in the movie too. It's supposed to be this tender moment between Star Lord and Gamora.
It's a nice change of pace as well. It's quite
Yeah,
action packed before that part.
yeah, uh, yeah. He was trying to teach Gamora how to dance.
And then the next song is one of my favorite songs in the soundtrack, and that's "I'm Not in Love" by 10cc.
Yeah, that is a really good song. It actually fits that scene that it's used in the movie to a T because it's like the song that he's listening to before he has to watch his mom die.
Yeah,
And it's kind of cool when you listen to the whole song. There's even a part in the song where there's this like very weird voice that goes, "Big boys don't cry, big boys don't cry." And I'm like, okay, that kind of suits what Peter Quill's going through at the moment.
it's also the longest song on the soundtrack.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
just over 6 minutes.
But yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, yeah, I love that one. Then the next track is "I Want You Back," of course, by the Jackson 5.
Yeah, that's a great
One of the most
song.
iconic songs on the soundtrack.
Yeah, and it's used in one of the more memorable scenes with the dancing Groot at the end.
Yeah,
I love that song.
and then you got one of my favorite songs, and that's "Come and Get Your Love." That's also one of my favorite scenes
That
in the movie.
yeah, that's another. That's if I had to do a top 5 favorite scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy, the title sequence, the opening credits where Star Lord's dancing to that song is one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
But I love it in Endgame as well.
Oh,
What-
it's even funnier in Endgame.
Yeah,
It's like this is the guy we're looking for. He's an idiot.
and then you got to be honest, this next one's my least favorite song on the soundtrack, and that's "Cherry Bomb."
I think it's a cool song though. It works for the tone of the movie. Uh,
I just find the song a bit irritating.
I can see it being annoying, but uh, I think it works better in the movie than on its own.
Yeah. And then you got the next one, which is "Escape," the Pina Colada song.
Oh yeah, that's using a great scene. That's during the
Yeah,
prison escape, but
it's a fun song,
it is.
even, even if the lyrics don't really make much sense.
Yeah, yeah. You look at the lyrics of the song. It's like so you got a guy trying to cheat on his wife, and he puts the thing in the ad, and then he he meets the woman that's also writing in the ad that turns out that's his wife. So they wanted to cheat on each other, but they cheated on themselves. It's like what? It's a weird song, but
I love the guitar playing in it.
yeah, I do too.
And then you got the song "Ooh Child,"
That's one of my
really good.
favorites on the soundtrack.
Yeah, definitely a top 5 song
Uh,
of the soundtrack.
yeah, I love the use of it in the movie. Actually, when I hear the song, even though I sing along to it, I want to do the dance off.
Yeah, and the final song of the soundtrack is "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
That's a great way to close the soundtrack.
Yeah,
It's I've always preferred the Marvin Gaye duet version, so I'm glad it's on the soundtrack.
yeah, I prefer that version as well. It's the only version I'm really familiar with.
Yeah, actually, I heard the Diana Ross version long before I heard the Marvin Gaye version. But the Diana Ross version is good too. It's a lot slower, but I like the more energetic Marvin Gaye version.
What are your favorite songs for the soundtrack?
All
What are
right,
your,
I
what are your,
hadn't, I hadn't really looked at. I gotta figure out what the top five
what are
are.
your you could just do your top three.
Uh, no, I want to do top five. Let me
I'll do a
see.
top five as well then.
I gotta do top five. Um, I know what number one is. Number five, I'm gonna go. I'm not in love. Number four, hooked on a feeling. Number three, I'm gonna do. Oh,
Mm.
ain't no mountain high enough. Number two, ooh child, and number one, come and get your love.
Right, I'll figure out mine. So I'll do my favorite to my number five. So my favorite is probably I think I'm going to go with "Come and Get Your Love." It's my favorite song on the soundtrack. My second favorite I'm going to go with "I'm Not in Love." I think my third favorite I'm going to go with "Ain't the Mountain High Enough." But number four I'm going to go with "Moonage Daydream." And number five I think I'm going to go with "I Want You Back."
Yeah, I will say Moon Age Daydream and I Want You Back were strong honorable mentions.
I think I'll give Hooked on a Feeling. It's honorable
And
mention as well.
Fooled Around and Fell in Love was an
Ooh.
honorable mention too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that might be my number six. That one.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you give the soundtrack out of 10?
10 out of 10. I love it.
I think I'd give it a 9.5. There's there's only a couple of songs I wouldn't choose to revisit.
Oh, the Cherry
That's Cherry
Bomb.
Bomb and the Pina Colada song.
Now, I don't mind. I don't mind Cherry Bomb. Mainly because of how it's used in the movie.
Yeah, I like it in the movie. I'm not really a fan of it on its own.
Yeah, now, I can see why. Because Cherry Bomb.
But what's your favorite song from the Guardians 2 soundtrack?
The Chain by Fleetwood Mac.
I think either that one for me or My Sweet Lord.
Yeah.
That was the first time I've heard My Sweet Lord.
Oh wow.
I didn't even know it was George Harrison at that point.
Wow, that's crazy. Uh,
Of
and
course,
then
Mr.
I
Blue
think
Sky is great as well.
my favorite song in the third movie. Of course, I don't remember every song in the third movie, nor am I
I
familiar with
know a
some of the
couple of songs
artists.
from it.
I like the song that ended the third movie. I
Yeah, I
think
like
it was
that one.
Florence and the Machine. I forgot the name of the song.
But I think I like the acoustic version of Creep by Radiohead.
Oh, I love that too.
That opens the movie.
Yeah, those are. I think the opening song and the closing song are the two best songs in the Guardians 3 soundtrack.
I didn't mind the use of the Beastie Boys song. That was quite a cool moment in the movie.
Yeah, I like. Have you watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special?
Yeah, I've really seen it the once, but yeah, I liked it.
The songs in that special are hilarious. Like the
But
original songs that were written for that movie.
yeah, have you seen the Guardians of the Galaxy shorts on Disney Plus?
Oh, the ones with Groot.
Oh yeah, the Iron Group.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I didn't watch those.
I think they're all right. But have you
Yeah.
seen the Guardians of the Galaxy and the animated shorts? That's what I meant.
Oh, I didn't. No, I didn't watch those.
But I thought they were just all right. But I recommend the Rocket and Group shorts. I find them very funny.
Well, Rocket and Groot are a fun duo. So
Yes, and it's animated. I think it's what six or eight mini episode. Each episode is only about 2 minutes long.
huh.
Yeah, I found that quite funny. Yeah, I enjoyed reviewing the movie and reviewing the soundtrack of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it's a good. It's a great movie. I would say if we're just ranking like all the individual franchises within the MCU, I think Guardians is the most consistent.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably going to go with Avengers. That's my preferred franchise.
The Avengers movies are good too.
Yeah, I think Guardians is a bit more consistent. I think because
Yeah.
they're all from the same director.
Yeah, because James Gunn did all those. The Avengers, you started out with Joss Whedon, and then for the first two, and then the last two, you had the Russo brothers. Now, I enjoy all the Avengers movies.
Yeah,
But I think the Guardians movies are more consistent.
I agree. But do you have any final words before we go ahead and conclude this?
Well, again, thank you, Adam, for having me on. I enjoyed talking about this. It's a great movie. I can't believe it's 10 years old. Wow.
Yeah, it's flown by. But yeah, I enjoyed doing this, and for people watching, please let us know your thoughts on the movie and the soundtrack, and what your favorite moment is in the film, what your favorite song is, and also what your favorite member of the Guardians of the Galaxy is. But until next time, peace out and ciao. Goodbye.